You and I today, Dr. Lona, we are talking about, why don't you take us through? What are we talking about today?
Yes, I'm excited. And for some of you, this maybe seems like not a sexy topic, but I'm here to tell you that if you take what we're going to talk about today and implement it, your practice will grow immediately. These are rhythms you do not want to miss in your practice. So we're going to be talking about the team huddles or individual huddle if you're a one-man show right now or one-woman show, and weekly team meetings. Hello, and welcome to Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. This podcast is dedicated to chiropractors who are in the seasons of launching and building their practice. Join myself, Dr. Lona, and my co-host, Dr. Bobby, as we have conversations each week as it relates to building the practice of your dreams. And remember, you can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. We're here to lead you on the way.
What's up, team? Welcome back to the Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast with the amazing Dr. Lona Cook and myself. Dr. Lona, how you doing? What's happening?
I'm doing great. How are you, Bobby?
I am fabulous. I'm doing really, really well. I'm enjoying the cold weather here. It's currently winter, but I can't complain that much. You know, big Eric DiMartino, shout out to Dr. Eric, Coach Eric of the Remarkable Practice. He was out here. He had a week in Sydney, you know, and he goes to me, how cold does it get here? And I'm like, oh, well, it's about 10 degrees at the moment, and 10 degrees Celsius, which is probably about 40, I think 45 degrees Fahrenheit. And
Yep.
he's like, man, I'm from Detroit, right? He's like, that's nothing. Although Big E was still walking around with these big jackets and, you know, all the goose filled or like the big furry jackets. I'm like, see, man, it still gets cold here.
You should get a reward leaving the summer to come down there for winter, right? Yeah.
I know, right? I was like, man, you picked it. And he's like, well, you know, Franklin takes the summer trips. I've got the winter trip. I was like, oh, man, you got to switch it around next year. So Dr. Eric DiMartino, he was down here for our live conversion retention immersion, which was amazing. And he was a rock star. He was much loved here by all the Aussies and New Zealanders alike. So we had a great time. But
Great.
you and I today, Dr. Lona, we are talking about, why don't you take us through? What are we talking about today?
Yes, I'm excited. And for some of you, this maybe seems like not a sexy topic, but I'm here to tell you that if you take what we're going to talk about today and implement it, your practice will grow immediately. These are rhythms you do not want to miss in your practice. So we're going to be talking about the team huddles or individual huddle if you're a one-man show right now or one-woman show, and weekly team meetings. So Bobby, start first with like when you started growing your practice, when did you first start to like have the awareness that you needed to have huddles, first of all? And how has your evolution both been with the team huddles and the team meetings to get you to this point now where you've got multiple doctors, a big practice, lots of moving parts? I'd love to hear your evolution there.
Yeah. So I think that first of all, as humans, we all slip into some kind of rhythmic way of doing everything in life. For example, you know, we woke up this morning, there's something probably that you did this morning as soon as you woke up that you do most mornings. Maybe that was hopefully brushing your teeth. Maybe that was, I don't know, jumping in the shower. Maybe that was making a glass of coffee, right? But we tend to operate most of our day through an operating system, through certain rhythms of how we do things. And then that translates to everything. There's a rhythm that you're showing up to your practice in. There is a rhythm on a weekly basis. Like, for example, people talk about, you know, thank God it's Friday. Is that a thing there in the US? Thank God it's Friday?
Yeah, I feel like less so than it used to be, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a kind of a rhythm. It's like, oh, Monday, oh no, Monday morning, right? It's going, okay, we go through the rhythm of, people go through the rhythm of, oh, Monday morning, not very, very good. Then it gets, oh, Wednesday, right? We're in the hump day now. And then it's like, thank God it's Friday, great. And then weekend is here. And it's this rhythm that happens. And my rhythm is different. I'm like, woohoo, Monday's here, baby. Let's rock and roll. Time to change lives. It's on. But we all slip into these rhythms and ways of doing things. And if you don't take a moment to step back and recognize them, then what happens is things happen by chance rather than choice. And I also believe that life by design, you can live the life that you want, right? You've got to sit down though and refine it and design it and put conscious intention into it. So in answer to your question, very early on, of course, I didn't recognize this. So I would show up to practice and, you know, I would jump on and I would look at the book and I would see what's coming up, and I'd look at any challenging patients that are coming in that day. And do I have any newies? Oh, there's no newies, so it would affect my energy. Or, you know, there's no reports, also would affect my energy. And so what I started to recognize is, hang on, I don't want my energy, which quite frankly is so critical and so important in practice and in life. If you want a way to repel people, just de-energize yourself, right? And on the flip side, if you want a way to attract people, just re-energize yourself and you become attractive. So then I recognize that, I think it's probably pretty important that I develop some kind of rhythms around how do I get my headspace and my mindset in the right zone before each and every single shift. And so that's kind of where, little did I know at the time, my pre-shift routine was born, or some element of it, right? My pre-shift huddle. Now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, well, pre-shift huddle, that's something that teams do. I'm here to tell you, nope, you're wrong. Pre-shift huddle is not something that only teams do. If you have a business and you're a one-person band, you're a team of one. Congratulations. So you have a team, which means you should be doing a pre-shift huddle, and you should have some element of a rhythm that you have before you go and you start putting a force into people's bodies, right? And serving humanity. But yeah, quite frankly, when you put a force into somebody's body, your energy matters. That force can be a force that leads to problems, okay? Or it can be a force that leads to good. And the difference is the intention and energy behind the force. So how did it evolve? That was your direct question to me. It evolved for me, first of all, somebody highlighting it for me. So my coach, Dr. Franson, was the person that's like, all right, we need to get into a regular rhythm with pre-shift huddles. So in the early days, it went from me just looking at what's going on, and then it evolved to recognizing that each different color in my appointment book. So new patients are a different color, reporter findings are a different color, standard adjustments are a different color. Then you've got progress exams and you've got re-exams. And then you've got progress, and then it really kind of opened up even more. There's progress exam 1 and 2, and then there's re-exam 1, right? We call it the R4. Then there's progress exams when someone's in the corrective phase of care. Then there's re-exams at the end of corrective phase of care. And then there's annual reviews. And we decided, as we evolved this more and more and more, we made a different arrangement for every single stage of the journey, because I looked at that as this is somebody's progression towards optimal health or towards better health. And so as a result of that, my pre-shift huddle took a form where I look at my day and I look at the energy of the day, where I was like, okay, so we're kicking it off, first of all, with adjustments in flow. This is beautiful. These are people that already entrust us with their health. So let's match the energy of that appropriately. It's an energy of seriousness, okay, because I'm taking it seriously, but it's also energy of hope and excitement, excited for those people and hopeful for those people of the changes they're going to be transforming in their body and seeing in their body. Then when I started to look at new patients and reporter findings, that's very much an energy of, okay, seriousness and conviction, because I know that I'm only going to get one opportunity to make an initial impression for day one. And I know that people are making up their mind about, do they like and trust me, usually within a minute of meeting me. And within 8 seconds, they're starting to make up that mind. And then same thing for reporter findings. Now, my energy for reporter findings is one of like conviction, but excitement. Excitement because they're about to have their eyes open. Excitement because I know they're about to have their lives changed. But it's also one of responsibility. So I was talking about this on the immersion on the weekend. The reality is when somebody doesn't start care in our office, you're going to be fine. All right. There's going to be another new patient. Don't worry about it. However, they might not necessarily be fine. And so when I started to understand that then really shifted my energy towards, okay, how I was preparing for reporter findings, and not necessarily the clinical side of preparing, but actually the shift side of preparing. And so with time, I just started to go deeper and deeper and deeper with, okay, managing my energy leading up to a shift, so that when we start, I can be rocking and rolling from the moment the first person walks into the practice. In the beginning, it was just me, Lona, so I'd be the person meeting and greeting. Chris, welcome. He's the first one in for the day, right? But he doesn't know that, So I'm like, Chris, welcome. Hey, it's time to get the power switched on. All the way through the last person of the day as well.
So good, Bobby.
And now we have our whole team. We've got a team of like 7 or 8 that will sit in the pre-shift huddle, from multiple chiros to multiple CAs. We've got a radiographer on site that takes all of our x-rays for us. So there's multiple people that are on the pre-shift huddle now, and it's really cool to see how that's emerged and changed.
Yes. And one thing, first of all, listening to you right there is like, does Bobby take this seriously? Yes. Like getting organized around this thing called chiropractic, clearly he takes very seriously. And it's not a coincidence then that he's built a massive practice with the right team that also buys in and takes it seriously and stays playful, like from our last podcast, like having fun doing it, because you do the work in advance to prepare so that it can be kind of like this party of seeing the people and turning life back on. And so, for me, it was similar, Bobby. Like, I remember at the end of my first year in practice, we were relatively busy for being in their first year of practice, and I had one CA and myself. And I just remember feeling like I can't keep doing it like this because it feels like a house of cards. Like, it feels like, yep, as long as I show up, things happen. But am I really that organized around it? Does my CA really know what to do? I don't know. I feel like we're just doing stuff, but we don't know really what we're doing and how to do it and repeatedly doing it. And so the huddle is such a critical point. And Bobby, I 100% agree with you that even if you're alone in your practice, to have a container that, let's say you start seeing people at 9 a.m., you're showing up at the practice at 8 a.m. because that's when you show up. It's not when you feel like showing up at 8 a.m. You walk through those doors, you get yourself right, hopefully before you walk through those doors. And then, if 8:20 is going to be the time where you go through the schedule and make sure that everyone's color coded appropriately, and what needs to happen is prepped for that shift that's about to happen so that your energy can stay in as much flow as possible because you prearranged the schedule the way that it needs to. This is how you start to build momentum and practice in a flowing way instead of always putting out fires. So to me, the team huddle that should happen pre-morning shift and post-morning shift, pre-morning or afternoon shift and post-afternoon shift. This is how the wheels don't fall off, whether you're one person or a 10-person team. Especially as you're adding people, it's like, we've got to come together because if it's busy in the practice, you may not see each other for 3 hours, right? So it's like when you come back together, it's like what needs to be relayed between each other. Maybe someone lost a family member. Maybe somebody had to reschedule a re-exam. Like then everybody gets in the know and can complete that day, wrap up that day and go home knowing that like everyone was stewarded in a way that we're actually doing a great job taking care of them, right? So that helps make sure everything gets buttoned up. To me, that's the best reason to do the huddle is you're ready for the people and then you buttoned up that experience so that everybody's in the know, so that somebody maybe, something could happen where someone had a miscarriage and it's not communicated. And then you allow one of your team members to misstep and that could have been handled, right? These are the little things that we need to think about why do we do our daily rhythms that way? It's so that we take care of our people really well.
I love that you brought up the pre-shift huddle and the post-shift huddle because they're different energies. I find that pre-shift huddle is you're opening the loop on what's about to be happening and you're getting ready for what's about to be happening and you're getting present before it's even happening. So you're visualizing these people that are coming in. You're visualizing your new patients and how you're going to be able to serve them. You're visualizing your report of findings and how they're going to be starting care. Yes, you heard me. Visualize your report of findings and how they're going to be starting care. Okay, in my mind, I'm not looking at my report of findings going, I hope they start care, or I hope they're not too difficult. Okay, I'm visualizing these guys going, they're starting care, and I'm visualizing how they're going to be transforming and giving us testimonial literally in a few weeks' time with a better, stronger, healthier shirt. So get prepared for that. It's open cycle in the pre-shift huddle. Get excited about what's happening. Get on purpose. And then the post-shift huddle is the opposite. It's closing the circle. So it's about, there's going to be things that happen. And also, you don't want your team, when you have a team, taking things home with them because you don't want them going home with open loops. You want all the loops closed there together. So you guys are going home, feeling accomplished and feeling satisfied with the people that you've served today. So I love that you brought that up. Did I ever tell you the story, Lona, about how I had a breakthrough experience with this, watching the Apple Store do this?
No, I don't think so.
Quick story, all right? I love a good story. So my Mac broke. I was early in my career. I would have probably been maybe like a year or maybe 2 years out in practice. And so my Mac broke. So I booked in, a Genius Bar appointment. I was going to the Genius Bar, and the only slot they had left was the first one in the morning. I think it was 7 a.m. So I booked into the major city store. It was in Sydney, King Street. And I rocked up there, probably would have rocked up there at maybe 6:45. And the store opens at 7. And so I show up there, and the Apple Store, there's you guys, everyone probably has seen an Apple Store. It's all glass, right? So you can see inside. And so as I'm there, I go to the door to try and open. The door is closed. But the reason why I tried to open is because I could see team was in there. And what was happening is the entire Apple Store team was surrounded in a huddle. It was like a small circle on the first floor, right in front of the doors. And they all had at that time, they were purple Apple shirts. But basically, they were all rallied around a circle. There would have been, I don't know, I'm going to say maybe 20, 30 people there. And then there was one person with a clipboard. And that person with the clipboard was obviously taking them through what was a pre-shift huddle. So he was taking them through, this individual, and you could see, he was talking about things and instruction, giving instruction, and the energy was one of seriousness, but one also of like fun and playfulness, and one of like ready to serve. And so I watched this, and I got there probably about 6:45 roughly, and at 7 o'clock, so they would have huddled for a good like 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden at 1 to 7, what happened is they all split. And the guys that were on mobile phones went to the mobile phone section. The guys that were on the Genius Bar doing the repairs went upstairs to the Genius Bar. The guys that were on laptops went to laptops. So everyone kind of dispersed. And one person with the key comes to the front of the store. And of course, it was the most friendly looking person. And that person comes to the front of the store, unlocks the door, and opens the door. And I was literally the first one walking in. And the energy for the first person walking in, which was me, was right on point. They were like, welcome to Apple Sydney. How can we help you? Can I start off with your name? And I had a little kind of iPhone there. And I was like, here's my name. And they go, we've got you booked in for a Genius Bar appointment this morning at 7 a.m. Great. Rodney's going to be looking after you. Hey, level 2, take the stairs to the left, up, and Rodney will be the second station in the Genius Bar. And I was like, thank you so much. And it was amazing how like the first person in the Apple store in Sydney, the experience that I got. But watching them do a pre-shift huddle I was like, man, if Apple is doing pre-shift huddles, you better be doing pre-shift huddles.
That was a great story. Thank you for that, Bobby. And, if you're like, oh, well, maybe my team's not going to like it if we have to get there earlier. I'm going to tell you guys, your people are worth it, and your vision is worth it to get this organized, even if that means you may identify some team members that are not A players because they don't want to show up a little earlier and get on the same page. Well, sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles when we're elevating our practice and getting more organized to grow and to serve people better. We also got to have people who are down to like do things differently. So if you haven't been doing huddles, I highly suggest it. We'll do some more on huddles in the future, I think, on a podcast too, Bobby.
Yeah, I think maybe we could do some role playing for huddles. Some of this stuff, guys, the immersion on the weekend, people are coming up to me going, I'm loving the podcast. Hey, I love to see kind of like real examples. Totally, we'll give you real examples. Just tell us what you want examples of. So maybe we'll do like a table talk real example in the future, or huddle, pre-shift huddle real example as well. So that's the rhythmic meeting of a shift, a pre-shift huddle and a post-shift huddle. Why don't you take us then the second rhythmic meeting that's essential for practice success, which is the weekly rhythmic meeting. Why don't you unpack that for us, Lona? What's the weekly rhythm that we need to introduce?
Yes. So a team meeting, and again, if you are a team member of one, right, you can still be having this team meeting. I'd highly encourage that you still put it on your schedule. It's not when you feel like it. It's every week at a time that you're going to like show up and go through these things. So certainly once you have a team member, whether that's one CA or multiple or more DCs, like your team meeting is, to me, it's the most important 30 minutes of the week. And for us, it happens on Mondays at 1:30. And, we're in many evolutions later of years and years of doing team meetings. So our team meeting, I'd say, is executed very, very well. And it's not just me coming with the data and me leading it anymore. It's my entire team is involved in the team meeting in various components. But if you're if you're the team of one right now, you're coming to that meeting to basically make sure that the wheels aren't falling off. So you're looking at things like what's coming up on the calendar. What do we need to be prepared for? Is there, like Bobby said, open loops in our marketing that need to happen so that we're not behind the 8 ball there? Is there, can we review who came in as a new patient this week? Did they get the report of findings in the last 7 days? Is there somebody that needs to have a doctor touch point? Because maybe they missed the report of findings and we need to make sure that that gets buttoned up and not lost for another week. It's these things that can easily get overlooked when we get busy, and I say quote unquote busy, meaning like just not well organized sometimes around the rhythms of the practice, both in, yes, seeing the people, but also the back end parts. Like, did they get their day 2? Did they sign up for care? Do they need an extra touch point? Did they need to bring their spouse to have a conversation about finances? Did their reeval get rescheduled? All of those things we're talking about. We're also looking at, if somebody graduated in care, making sure that graduation into the next phase of care got well laid out so that everybody's on the same page with what's happening with our people. So marketing is a conversation, team awareness to like where people are at in their care, and especially touch points with day 1, day 2, day 3. And then we also set the training schedule for the week. So we'll go over like this Wednesday, we'll be training and role playing on the new patient process, part 1, you know, or whatever it's going to be, so that everyone knows what's coming up 2 days later when we're coming back together for the next most important thing that we're going to do a separate podcast on, which is team role playing. So we address that in the team meeting as well. And obviously we're also going over our stats and where we're at in the quarter on hitting some of the metrics. And if there's any projects that need a touch point as a team on, that's brought up at the team meeting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say I'm someone that's listening to this and I recognize the importance of team meeting. And I want to reiterate what Lona said there, which is if you are a one-person band, you're a team of one. So you have a team, congratulations. And you're the person on that team that's at the moment sitting on the different roles. But it's okay, all right? It's gonna shift and it's gonna start to change, okay? If we do things well. So what we're saying, guys, is you want to have a time ruled out on your calendar, minimum weekly. Okay, I would go ahead sometimes and say, okay, if you want to get more organization and structure, twice a week. And that time, we're going to call that team meeting time. If you have a business and you're a team of one, call that, you know, whatever your business name is, team meeting time, because that's going to start to evolve and you'll in the future look back and say, remember when I was a team of one doing these? And look at me now, I'm a team of 51 doing these, okay? Or whatever your vision holds for you. But quite frankly, in that meeting time, that's when we're going to organize ourselves. So we want to do, and I'm going to come back to you in a second, Lona, so you can unpack for us, what is the structure? What would you tell us to, how would you tell us to run a meeting? What's a good structure to follow? But it's going to be some reiteration of, you know, reflect back. So we always look back on the week that was, and I ask myself, you know, where did we win and where did we learn? So was there things that we're really happy with this last week? And were there areas that maybe we learned and that we, you know, failed forward or fell short on last week? That's going to be what you're going to put in the meeting time. You're also then going to have a look at your meeting and look forward facing and go, okay, well, based on what we've been experiencing, what do we need to now focus on moving forward? Okay, focus is the currency at play here. We've got a certain amount of it, and we want to make sure that we're focusing the right task because, you know, have you heard of such thing as decision fatigue? You've heard of decision fatigue, right, Lona?
I've felt it, yes.
Yeah. Decision fatigue is a real thing, guys. They say that you wake up in the morning with a certain amount of focus, right? And each decision that you make, it takes us a little bit away from that. It takes a little bit away from that focus, which is why, you know, the story goes that people like Steve Jobs will always wear the same clothes because it's like they don't have to make a decision in the morning what they're wearing. So it's one less decision to make. So the reality is when you organize yourself in a team meeting, it minimizes the amount of reactive decisions that you have to make. And instead, you follow the plan that you've laid out in the meeting. So if you met and you said, all right, on the basis of this, on the basis of my data and results in the last week, or now the trend that I'm seeing in the last 4 weeks, this week now, we are going to be really putting energy and focus into the conversion process. My conversions have been down, and the ones that are converting haven't been mapping or aren't going on a payment plan. So I need to put my energy and focus right now into revisiting the conversion process. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, revisiting my state before every single report of findings, revisiting my preparation process before every single report of findings, revisiting my headspace and expectation before every single report of findings. You know, you want to highlight this in your meeting so that you can plan your week and you can be present in the areas that require your presence. So, there's some tips. Lona, I'd love to hear from you. How can we run our team meeting? What would be a good practice? What would be a good way to run our team meeting? What would you recommend?
Well, we'd love to help you. And so you can go in the show notes here and download our team meeting agenda. If you'd like a good example of, you know, maybe you're not going to follow every part of this, but there will be things that probably you will want to follow here. So Bobby already laid out some of them. First of all, as the owner, you likely, if you haven't been doing a routine team meeting, you will be the one to start it. And one of the things TRP I love says, which is like, at first it's done by you, then it's done with you, then it's done for you, right? And so, you know, just because it may feel like another thing that's on your plate to run a meeting, just know that as you attract team, eventually your office manager may run the team meeting or someone else that you will teach how to run this so that you can show up and do your part of it, but not have to provide the full context here. But while you're a one-man show or a 1 and 2 person show and you're just starting this, yes, it has to be done by you. So use our agenda as a template, if you will, that you want to show up, have a container of how much time you're going to allocate to that and definitely stick to that because you're going to burn your team out if you don't stick to the container, right? So if it's not a time to like discuss all the problems in the practice or go off on rabbit trails about other topics that aren't on the agenda. You stick to the agenda so that every point that needs to happen can hopefully happen swiftly, which is how everybody looks to the team meeting then to like make sure that everything gets buttoned up every week. Just like the huddles are important, the team meeting needs to stay on point. So the team meeting is opened up by usually you as the owner setting the energy, giving a win for the week, like Bobby said, or anything that, start on a high note. Yes, of course, also if there's a lesson or a learn or something really pressing in your community, we had a hospital system shut down here really unexpectedly that created ripples into our community. We were talking about that at our team meeting because we wanted to be sensitive to people coming in that were kind of in chaos based on what was happening in our area. This is a good time to kind of talk about that and make sure everyone's on the same page, right? And then we also want to orientate our team to like where we're at in the quarter and in the year. So like right now we're starting a new quarter. We'd be in week 1 of quarter 3. And also this week, what are we looking at that's on our marketing calendar coming up in the month of July and maybe even out from there so that you can get prepared around that, right? So if there's themes that you're marketing in your practice or events that you're preparing for, this is a good time to just touch point with whoever's going to execute on that and make sure that all systems go. And that may be an individual meeting down the road when your team gets big enough, if there's someone that owns marketing and you may have a one-on-one meeting with that. But right now, where maybe you're the one that does the marketing and maybe just looking at like, okay, what do I have coming up? Am I prepared? Is there anything I need to purchase to prepare for this talk I'm giving? Or do I need to work on my PowerPoint so that you can not, drop the ball here? And then when you look at this curriculum, you'll see scoreboard review. That basically means looking at your metrics, which Bobby and I have unpacked some of those, and I know in the future we're going to do even more. But we can't know where we're going if we don't know like where we're at, right? And that's why weekly looking at, how many new patients have we had this quarter or this past month? Where are we at as it relates to the goals we had set? Because it's hard to make up for any lost time if we have no idea where we're at, right? So this is part of just recognizing that if we have goals and we're not like actually measuring them, they're kind of worthless, right? Like, okay, it's still good to have them down on paper, but we just write them to feel good then if we're not actually using them and measuring them and looking at where we're at and how we're walking that out every week. So when you download this agenda, you'll want to look and see, are we doing some of this? Could we do it better? And that's been my evolution, is like, it just keeps getting better the more fine-tuned we get at doing a great team meeting and involving all of our players on the team meeting. That's when it really took the next level, when it wasn't just me talking at everyone. It was everybody comes with their portion of what they really are responsible for on the team, and they present it at the team meeting.
Yeah, so you mean as in you have now, obviously you've got a bigger team, so you've got leadership team that you've developed, people that are in charge of different domains, so they could be attraction, conversion, retention, team building, collections, and then those individuals will come and report back to you guys as a team in the previous week. How did you go in those different domains? Is that accurate?
Yep. And even if they're not in charge of a domain, like for instance, if I want a CA involved and I just want her to bring something, she may just grab the team calendar. She may not be the one responsible for the marketing, but she may look at like what's on the calendar and just give everybody an update, right? And that still gets her voice present in the meeting, and we all are coming instead of someone having to bring everything, right? So.
Yeah, I like that. I like also, we talk about this quote, that the difference between being busy and being productive. The difference between business and productivity is focus, what you focus on. So that weekly team meeting highlights what we should be focusing on. And you highlight that based on a combination of what your goals are for the quarter and then what your previous weeks have been showing you has been happening. So if you're looking at the previous weeks and you're thinking to yourself, new patients are down. All right, well, then the focus point now needs to be on, well, what does your marketing calendar look like? Is there marketing in the pipeline? Who's in charge of that marketing? Is there nothing set up? Because if there's nothing set up, then the action step needs to be, I've got to rule out time this week to start setting up my marketing calendar. Newsflash, we're not just going to have new patients fall out of the sky. And my goal is, I want 30 a month. Well, 30 is going to magically kind of fall out of the sky. It's like, plan for that. Where are the 30 going to come from? How many are going to come from internal referral? How many are going to come from external activities? Then let's get specific. What external activities are you going to be doing? How many are going to come digital. If your digital agency isn't performing, you need to put that down on your action task from the meeting and be like, all right, this is 3 weeks in a row that our digital agency isn't performing. And so we're not getting the amount of new patients that we need. So my action step is going to be to set up, first and foremost, surprise, surprise, a meeting with my digital agency team to hold them accountable to here are the goals, here are their expectations. And then maybe you want to turn that into a rhythmic weekly accountability meeting where we're sitting and we're discussing our digital goals and our digital outcomes. So there's a level of high accountability around that because accountability leads to better outcomes. So you can only work this out though if you take regular time where you do meetings and you get this data. And again, I'm very aware as we're doing this podcast that there's people that are a team of one, and equal there's people that are a team of, many, many more than one. So this will change its form and its structure depending on how you look at this. But if you're a team of one, you want to be reviewing this. Maybe you're the person doing your Facebook ads. Okay. If you're listening to this and you're doing the Facebook ads and the Facebook ads are down, you got to ask yourself the question, okay, well, have I been putting energy into it accurately, properly? Have I been updating ads? Have I been updating them regularly and split testing and doing what I need to do? When do I do that? I love the old saying that when you're in the early days of business, you're grinding during the day, and the grinding means you're doing the work during the day, and you're hustling at night, right? And the hustling at night might mean the planning, the orchestrating, the setting up, right? The working out the agenda for my meeting that I'm going to have with myself tomorrow. And then when you build a team around you, okay, you can start to buy back time because you have money, so you can use that money to buy back time. But then equally, the most leverage points become those meetings and those trainings, because that's how you develop other people. So as you grow a business, you grow the people and the people grow the business. And the way that you grow the people is through regular team trainings and regular team meetings.
Amen.
Cool. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense for everyone. So, today's podcast was about, all right, well, what are the rhythms that grow a practice? There's a daily rhythm of a pre-shift and a post-shift huddle, and that should have a certain energy around it. And then you've got a weekly rhythm of a team meeting. And that team meeting is really there. It's a meeting to look at stats, look at data. And I love how Lona said, you guys, look at the previous weeks, you look at what was happening in the previous week, how you perform, and then you guys report that. And then we also, on top of that, I think you guys were very similar things to this, Lona. We, as we're reporting the data, we highlight if we want to make anything an issue, and anything that's an issue, we discuss in more detail. So if someone's reporting and says, let's just say, for example, our goal is, let's make up a number, 60 new patients in a month. That means that let's make it 80 because it makes it easy for my brain. That means we need 20 per week, all right? 20 new patients a week because maybe we've got a multiple DC office, and it's 80 new patients a month, all right? And we've now had 3 weeks in a row of 11 new patients, 13 new patients, 9 new patients. That needs to be made an issue. So when that gets reported in the team meeting, somebody will need to say, okay, can I please make new patients an issue? We're going to come back and discuss that. So then as we finish reporting different stats, let's say we move on to conversion then, and we start noticing how our conversion has been 57%, 59%, 61%. How I want to make that an issue. We're going to come back to that. And then once we finish reporting all the stats and the data, we come back to that. All right, what was the issue, Bobby, that you want to make about new patients? And then that's when I can lean in and pour into that and put focus and energy. Well, I've noticed that new patients are down. And when I've dug deep on this, it's because of X, Y, Z. It's because we're getting plenty of leads, but the volume of call to those leads is not sufficient. So we're not seeing a translation of leads into new patients. So let's discuss that. Let's see where it's going sideways. Do we need to dedicate more time to doing calls? Do we need to make sure we add another person? Do we need to hire another team member? Where is the place that it's going sideways so that the calls are getting done and so that we're hitting our 20 new patients a week goal so that all the chiropractors can be reaching their individual goals, right?
That was great. Thank you for unpacking that. And I think one thing that I want to stress there is like, you're solution oriented. It's not just like pick apart something in the practice and whine about it or be dramatic about why people don't get chiropractic and that's why our conversion is down or blah, 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 blah. No, we're solution oriented. And if we have a team that really wants to see people go through the patient journey and help them, like, then we're willing also to look at our gaps and where we need to get better. And all of that leads itself into what our next podcast will be on, which is how do we train and role play to take these processes very seriously, because we know that this is how we're going to extend the offer to people to really come into our paradigm and receive the benefits of chiropractic, which is the whole reason we host the team meeting, is to be able to actually see into like what's happening in the day and day.
Yep, spot on the mark. So there you go, guys. These are rhythmic meetings for practice success. Please, if you're a team of 1, that's a great time to start. If you're a team of 10, it's a great time to refine. Maybe you're doing pre-shift huddles. Maybe you're not doing post-shift huddles, right? And maybe you are doing team meetings, but they need to take the next level of evolution and structure. That's exactly what we can help you with. So if you've got questions around this, guys, there's 2 things that you can do. Number 1 is definitely download the giveaway that Dr. Lona so generously has offered, which is your team meeting sheet. So you have a structure you can follow. If you have questions around that sheet, there's a complexity to it. So if you have questions around it, please don't hesitate to reach out. And the second thing that you can do is reach out to us individually. This is exactly what we do. We build world-class teams, and we help you build world-class teams as well, so you can scale your practice. We have a lot of different practices that we work with, whether they're in launch and they're a team of 1, or whether they're in CEO and they're scale and they've got dozens of team members. There's a proper way to take your meeting rhythms, your pre-huddle rhythms, your training rhythms to the next level. There's best practices around this. So please reach out and we can jump on, have a conversation around and see if it's something that we can help you with. Otherwise, Lona, great discussion and chat as always. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you really soon.
You too, Bobby. Thanks.
Catch you guys.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, please click the links in the show notes to schedule a call.